So this is a weird one. Conor McGregor took to social media over the weekend to basically go after Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith, I think he does the Believe You Me podcast with Michael Bisping, although he talked about it with us as well, and I think some other places. But somehow Conor McGregor got wind of it, and basically what Anthony Smith's argument was that, like, this is bullshit. How is this guy able to, like, get out of the testing pool, take a bunch of PEDs, and then just come back when he's ready? This is nonsense. And, of course, he recently suffered his own ankle injury against Ankalaev, and it goes on from there. Conor McGregor hated everything about this and lashed out at him on Twitter, saying things like the audacity of this loser, then tagging Anthony Smith. You're a loser. The percentage of the bones joining back after a break like this is so low you think I give an F about anything else. I'm the most tested fighter of all time in combat sports. I gave everything to this game. You nothing. He went on and on and on from there, even putting out like recorded messages for Anthony Smith. But in the end, here's what he did say, BC, and this is what I wanted to have a conversation about. Quote, everything was fully disclosed before I began. The state of allowance for athletes to recover from injuries as horrific as the one I overcame must be assessed. My thoughts are with Weidman and Anderson Silva. The three of us, and only us, know the severity of this injury. BC, subsequent to this, ESPN and Mark Raimondi followed up with USADA to get some kind of confirmation about what the hell is happening here. All they said was that he would have to get back into the testing pool for 6 months, although an allowance could be granted. Remember the same thing they did for Brock Lesnar at UFC 200, where they're like, fuck it, you can just come right on in, and that kind of blew up in their face a little bit. Nevertheless, BC, we are back where we started a little bit, where it's like he wasn't cut, he didn't retire, he was not removed from the rankings. How is this fucking possible? It appears, and I want to use that word very clearly, it appears that what McGregor is arguing is that he received medical treatment that standard USADA restrictions would not allow, but fuck it, he did it anyway. How do you unpack the situation? What is the significance?
Well, PEDs are also really good for recovery, so he's making a fairly strong point right there. Yeah, in some way he's kind of like openly admitting things, but also the system and structure is kind of broken. Look, I mean, in some ways, is it parallel to the marijuana discussion? Not even central to just fights, but in general, right? I mean, it's like, you know, I mean, when you mix with the everybody's probably using anyway way of looking at things, which I think is the accurate way, mixed with this is a scenario where Conor's probably right and this could greatly aid your recovery. I mean, look, didn't RIP, the great girl dad himself, Kobe Bryant, went to Germany for those special surgeries to get himself back on the court, right? I mean, what are in those special surgeries, Luke? Really good medicine, right?
My understanding is he went to Germany to get stem cell therapy, which USADA does not prohibit. That's my understanding.
I guess it fits the same larger point that there's, no,
Mirko Krokop, for example, took HGH per the recommendations of his surgeons and his doctors to heal one of his injuries, and that got him in trouble, but he just left UFC. I mean,
you're the drugs win drugs war t-shirt guy, Luke. You may be right here. So Conor admitting it, yeah, and the reason why Raimondi got a quote from USADA was because Conor was kind of bragging on Twitter about the potential of him coming back and was sort of mentioning February of next year, and then, that he could just come in, pass 2 tests, and be back. And then that's when USADA responded and be like, no, you have to do the full 6 months. And they said the key part was they said that this situation would not meet the exemption terms that they would normally operate. Well, I guess it was fine for Brock Lesnar, right? But yeah, your point taken there. But
also, I don't think it's USADA's decision; it's UFC's.
I mean, is anybody debate? Okay, here's the things that we have to talk about. Is anybody debating that he's on the juice? Nobody is, right? Is anybody going to sit here?
It's hard to know exactly what that is, under what protocol. It seems like it's a medicinal level to treat this horrific injury he suffered.
He also prioritized, and I'm not damning him, doing the role in the remake of Roadhouse, to which necessitated him bulking up and going another calendar year without a fight. Now, he was also recovering from the leg, so all that. So, look, I don't think anyone's going to debate that he's probably, but I think you can also make the same debate that he did, that using in the force of recovery too, like, if you can, you might as well exit the USADA pool and do that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're already investing so much.
Okay, but here's the problem. Funnily enough, I actually had a couple of UFC fighters call me over the weekend. This is a true story. I saved it for today's story because I didn't want to ruin it. Yeah.
Are they good at fighting too?
High level, very high level. Pay-per-view headliners.
Oh my God, Luke!
Okay.
Wow.
They called me because they were very confused. They're like, I don't even understand how this is possible, right? Like, I can only get out of the testing pool per the rules if I've retired or I'm no longer employed with the organization. I'm like, well, that's certainly what they've told the public is the rule. But remember, people are like, well, Conor just must have retired and then unretired. But if he retired, he has to be removed from the rankings. He was not removed from the rankings. So that, from what we know, that can't be the case. And so I don't know what USADA is or is not doing, but it doesn't match whatever they told us publicly are the rules. So this is where the confusion comes in. And what they basically expressed to me was, and this is like almost like they had a coordinated conversation about it. They basically were like, they don't even care that Conor got to do this stuff. They really don't. But if he gets the option to heal this way, they want the option in the event that they have some kind of other really very serious injury. They want the option to deal this way. And you know something that we always do on RSD for all the fighters that come through? I didn't do it for Glover. I should have. But I do it for a lot of the other ones, which is like, tell me about all your injuries. Guys, if you've never talked to a senior level fighter, these fucking guys wreck themselves. To say nothing of like the CTE and traumatic brain injury, just the orthopedic shoulder, finger, wrist, knee, elbow, ankle, all that shit, all those issues they are massive problems. And when Conor talks about how he wants to be able to play with his kids when he's older, dude, I feel that completely. I totally understand that. But if he is allowed by some mechanism that we don't know to go and get medical treatment that other guys don't get, I'm not mad at McGregor for getting it. And from what I understand, I don't think the fighters are mad that he got it. What they want to say is, I want that shit. I don't understand what the problem with that is.
Look, I think this is the same situation. I think I said the same things when, like, if you're a celebrity level fighter, so we're basically arguing that it seems like both USADA and the company gave preferential treatment to a celebrity level fighter. Like, how would they waive the clause for Brock Lesnar ahead of 200? You know, obvious reasons why. And I think this is the same case as when John Jones was allowed to move his rematch against Gustafsson because the state commission in Nevada wasn't going to address that until the next weekend after the holiday. So they didn't clear John. So everybody said, oh, wait, let's just pack up and move it down to 4 hours away in LA. And everybody was like, cool. Yeah. During Christmas week. No problem. Right. It was John Jones coming back after a very long time. So yeah, you're right. This is preferential treatment when you get to that celebrity level where you can flow and kind of call your own shots, and everyone should have access to that, Luke, doesn't this just exploit that the testing system, as you always harp about, which you're right, is just more of a dog and pony than we even necessarily
it's just one of the things. This is a common critique of anti-doping, which again, people don't want to listen to until it's right in front of their face. But one of the major documented critiques is it actually makes the dividing line between the very elite who are rich and the ones who aren't even worse. People think like anybody who can take it will just raise their level and then it'll just level the playing field, which is actually not quite right. When you have anti-doping in place, what ends up happening is the people who can't afford to get around it can't afford to get around it. The people who can find all number of ways, whether it's stuff that isn't detected or whatever the hell. Again, we don't know exactly what's happening here, but we appear that something outside of the rules that as we understand them, again, I want to be sort of clear about the ambiguity of it all, appears to be happening here. There's lots of ways in which it actually entrenches power. It doesn't do the opposite of that. And I want to make one more point, BC, on this whole thing. It's like, listen, I understand that I have a view of anti-doping, and perhaps USADA more specifically, that it's going to take a lifetime, I think, to convince people, and maybe even then it's not enough time, and I accept that. I really do. But what they are not entitled to is your automatic trust. No organization is. They are not entitled to the idea that they can operate at carte blanche. No organization is. If you believe in their mission, that's one thing we can have a debate about. But if you're going to grant that they exist, all of us still have a responsibility to say that we don't have to agree to every single thing that they do. If you want to say that they're the good guys, I don't think that that's really a fair way to put it. Nevertheless, you don't allow them to just make up whatever they want to do or whatever rule they pass or whatever that we have to accept and say, well, that's because they're the good guys. We just have to go along with it. No, all of their rules and all of their meetings and all of their statements, all of them deserve scrutiny. And the last thing I would say here, BC, is it's one thing for any organization in any sector to, do things in a way that isn't in keeping with the highest standards. We all kind of accept it. But if your whole brand is transparency, and your whole brand is trust, and your whole brand is we're the adults in the room, and then you have a clear situation that, again, we don't know what is happening, but clear in the sense that there is an obvious contradiction here that remains unclear. you do not get to then benefit from the halo of trust that you told us you deserve, because now it's being undercut. I just want folks to understand you don't have to agree with the totality of my position on anti-doping to still be a critical thinker in this scenario and say, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. And the ways in which that informs your judgment about them should be changed accordingly.
I mean, this is, I've worked in a factory. This is the OSHA guy showing up once a year and you have to get everything in order. Or if you worked in a kitchen, this is the health inspector, right, Luke? You know what I mean? Let's all like button up and look good when we have to and then go back to regularly scheduled debauchery. I mean, this is what this is, Luke. I mean, how far are we away then from, it's like we've now realized and all come together and be like, not only can we all make money off of marijuana legalization, this wonder drug can help so many people in a million different ways.
Right.
So can HGH on your recovery to keep you healthy as an athlete, right?
Right. I mean, I think
it's not black magic, but it is science there. I mean,
I understand. Like, does it help with bone fusing or other kinds of things that you might need in the case of what McGregor had? And again, there are all kinds of different things guys could take, peptides, and the fucking works. But I just feel like USADA doesn't have to tell us what's happening with Conor, but they have to tell us the mechanism in place by which someone can leave the testing pool, not be cut, not be retired, and stay in the rankings.
Celebrity.
Because as it stands, we don't have that, and this, whatever the fuck is happening, it just has to be explained. You cannot.
We know the ingredients, though, Luke.
To be the adults in the room and do this.
You're a giant brand and a pay-per-view draw, and you also work with the company to make really huge fights. All right? There it is. That's the pact right there.